One of the most important things that you can realize when it comes to success is the fact that, listen, there is enough cake for everybody to have a slice. My name is Amara, and my goal is to help you find balance, realize your full potential, to help you achieve your version of success in life and business. So if that sounds like something that you would be into, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because I post new videos every week. With social media and with the way the online space is, we really have unprecedented access into people's lives. So it makes sense that we would start to compare ourselves with the people we see online. But in today's video, I'm going to be talking about comparison. I'll be talking about why we compare, what happens when you do, and when you stick around to the end, I'll also be sharing what you can do instead to help you overcome or beat that comparison trap. So comparison is one of those things that I think a lot of people don't like talking about, because if we're being honest, it's a little bit embarrassing to admit the fact that you struggle with comparison. But I think a lot of people at one point in their lives have kind of felt this feeling and are familiar with this. And I think it's really important to understand comparison because it's one of those things that can really hold you back from success. So we'll start off by talking about why we compare. So comparison is actually something that's sort of built into us as humans. It's just part of who we are and how we're born. And when you think about it, comparison actually serves the purpose of helping us to just evaluate the world around us and understand our place in the world. And so from the time we're born, we're constantly comparing ourselves to our environment and comparing various factors to each other. It just helps us to evaluate the way the world works. And if you think about something as simple as walking, it takes comparison and just evaluating lots of different factors so that you know exactly where to put one foot in front of the other. But when it gets harmful is when you start comparing yourself to other people and you start to feel bad about yourself. And so I want to highlight a couple of things about comparison and how it can really affect your success. Now, the first point is that when you compare yourself to someone else, you're really putting your success in their hands. So think about it. When you're constantly comparing yourself to other people, your success and your happiness is really dependent on someone else's performance. Now just think about that for a moment. How crazy is that? That your success is not even in your own control because you're waiting for someone else, and most of the time it's people who don't even know that we exist. You're waiting for them to perform and see how they do, and their performance is what determines whether you're happy or not. So if they do well, then maybe you feel worse about yourself, but if they do bad, you feel better. I don't know. But that in itself is so disempowering because ultimately your success and your happiness is already out of your control. So that's the first thing. Next is to also realize that when we compare, we usually compare ourselves to other people who are kind of in our circle. So you usually don't find yourself comparing your life to a celebrity or someone whose success is way out of your reach. You know, generally we compare with people who are our friends or in a similar level to us or close family members. And why that's important is if you don't keep tabs on it, if you don't understand what you're doing and try to control it, comparison can actually really damage a lot of relationships. I would say it's so important to identify where you are struggling with comparison so that you can deal with it and move forward. All right, so if you've ever found yourself struggling with comparison, here are some things that you can do instead. All right, so the first thing is to actually identify your triggers. And your trigger is obviously going to be that thing or that area in your life that you always find yourself comparing yourself with other people. And so triggers are going to be different for everyone. So for some people, it might be their weight. For another person, it might be the amount of money they make, maybe the number of followers or subscribers that someone else has. So identify the area in your life that you usually tend to feel bad about when it comes to comparison. Once you identify that area, you really want to dig in. So start by asking yourself, why does this bother me so much? Because chances are, if it bothers you so much, it's usually an area in your life that you value on some level. And then try to understand what you can do about it. Because sometimes there's actually a lot that you can do about it. So try to understand if there's anything that you can do about it and then start to create an action plan to help you meet your goals. If it's something that you can't do anything about, if it's something out of your control, that's completely fine too. You really just want to understand it so that you can start working through whatever problems or issues, this may bring up for you. And so identifying your triggers is really important because it allows you to just get in tune with yourself and just understand why it is you're doing certain things. So once you understand what your triggers are, it becomes a little bit easier for you to avoid. So my next tip would be to avoid your triggers. If you find that there's certain people that you often find yourself comparing yourself to, you can avoid them. If they're making you feel bad about yourself or kind of causing you to spiral, it's completely fine to unfollow people, to block them, unsubscribe, whatever you have to do. It's important that you take care of your own mental health first. Also, if you find that you need to take a break from social media, I think in this day and age, everyone understands that having a social media detox is completely fine. I know that sometimes we think that we want to be online all the time so that we can stay relevant, but sometimes a social media detox is just needed. If you have to step away from social media for a day, a week, a month, whatever it is, take your time and make sure that when you're coming back, refreshed and ready to be inspired. Also, when you're taking a break from social media, just spend time doing things that you love and things that light you up. Those things are going to help you just feel more confident and feel better about where you are in your life. And then another really important thing that you can do would be to start a gratitude practice. So when we're comparing ourselves to other people, we're usually focused on lack and usually focusing our energy on an area in our lives where we don't have the things that we want. And so we find ourselves feeling worse and worse about it, right? But what if we were able to just kind of turn the table around and really focus on the things that we do have? And so that's where gratitude comes in. An exercise that I want you to do is to start a gratitude journal. And so every single morning, write down 3 to 5 things from the day before that you're grateful for. Now, it's going to be easy to write down things like I'm grateful for life, I'm grateful to have a family, but I'm going to challenge you to not write down anything generic like that. Because sure, we're grateful for those things, but those things are kind of there every day. But what I want you to do is actually write down the little things that happen that are unique to that day. So for instance, if someone gives you a compliment at work, or someone opens the door for you, or you get a really great parking spot, those are the type of things that I want you to write down. Write down 5 things and make them different every single day. And so you're probably thinking to yourself, how am I going to find 5 different things every single day to write down? And to be honest, it's going to be challenging at first for a lot of people. Remember the first time I did it, I sat there for a long time really just thinking about 5 things that were unique to the day before. But what you'll find is if you make a commitment to do this, every single day, you know that tomorrow I'm going to be writing down 5 things that I'm grateful for from today. So guess what? You're going to start looking for those little things, and you start to realize all of the amazing little things that happen throughout the day that you would have otherwise just taken for granted. And so starting a gratitude journal is really just a great way for you to just focus on the good and the abundance in your life right now. So once you really start to focus on that, you really obviously don't have as much time to really focus on the lack and comparing yourself to other people. So having a gratitude practice is something that I would definitely recommend. Now, if this is something you're currently doing, leave a comment and let me know how it's going for you, because having a gratitude practice is truly one of the things that has changed my life. Now, the next thing that I would say is to only compare yourself to yourself. And what I mean by this is no matter where you are in your life today, chances are that when you look back at your life 1 year ago, you've likely made progress in some way. So instead of focusing on other people, I actually want you to focus on yourself and focus on comparing your present state to your past. Doing this will help you to see just how far you've come. Because a lot of times we don't meet our goals and we start to feel bad about ourselves, but we don't actually realize how much progress we've actually made. So whether it's every month, every quarter, every year, make it a habit to continually kind of check in on yourself and track your progress. Because you'll find that, yes, you may not meet all your goals, but you're likely making progress. If you can just celebrate your progress and celebrate your small wins, you're likely to just have a better outlook on life because you're less hard on yourself. So if you can do that and then make it a habit to continually do this, So whether it's every month, every quarter, or every year, you will find that you start to grow. Slowly but surely, you will grow. Because when you're working on your goals and you're working on yourself, guess what? You don't have time to focus on other people. And so if you're not making your goals and you're not making progress, ask yourself why. And then really start to work through and try to understand what you can change in your life to help you meet those goals if they are things that are important to you. One other thing that I really find that helps with comparison, especially in the online world, is really focusing on community over competition. One of the most important things that you can realize when it comes to success is the fact that, listen, there is enough cake for everybody to have a slice. So one person's success does not have to mean that you're going to do bad or you're going to suffer in any way. There's enough cake for everybody. So really focus on community and getting to know people and supporting each other. And when people win, celebrate their successes with them. You don't want to be that person who is holding resentment or anger inside of their heart, because when you do that, you're not going to attract the kind of success that you want. You want to celebrate other people's success, be happy for them, and just focus on building that community spirit. And you don't want to do it from a self-serving place. You're not celebrating people so that they can come and celebrate you back. It really has to be an attitude of community, and it really has to come from the right place, because I think people can really tell when these things are not coming from the right place. So it takes time. So just do baby steps. So if it means, just starting off with liking a post, just start there. Start with what you're comfortable with, and then start with commenting. You can reshare people's posts, just whatever it takes to just build that sense of community. So if you are really struggling with comparison, especially in this online space, a great way to kind of beat it is to focus on celebrating other people's success. So my last tip is going to sound a little bit paradoxical to what I've been sharing so far, but stick with me here. And so I would say that if you are going to compare yourself to other people, make sure to compare with intention. So what I mean by this is, a lot of times we find ourselves comparing because we're bored and we have nothing else to do. So you might be aimlessly just kind of scrolling through social media, looking at the number of likes that someone has, or looking at someone's house, or whatever it may be. And then you start to just feel bad about yourself because you're just doing it aimlessly. But what if you set out to actually compare with intention? So if there is someone who has something that you want or that you aspire to, what if you were able to look at them and look at that thing that they have and really look at it from a place of, how can I get myself to where they are? Easy example, someone you've been comparing yourself to them because they just bought a new house. In fact, they're building a new house, and you're just kind of going through their pictures and just feeling a little bit resentful because, that's something that you really want but you don't have, right? So instead of just kind of aimlessly scrolling and looking at those pictures, why not look at the pictures, try to understand what you can do to get there? So it doesn't mean that you have to start saving more. It doesn't mean you need to switch jobs and get a better paying job, or maybe you need a side hustle to supplement your income. What can you do to get you to where you want to be? So if you're going to compare yourself to people, I really just think that you need to be intentional about the way you do it. Instead of it leading to resentment, let it lead to inspiration. Let it lead to motivation, so that you're motivated to just work harder and, take action towards the things that you actually want. So this is by no means the first thing that I would say to do if you're struggling with comparison, but I think there's something to be said about letting other people inspire us and letting their lives drive us to really achieve success that we desire. Remember to stay in your own lane. There's no way you can win a race by looking at someone else's lane. You're always going to trip over, you're always going to fall. So always remember to stay in your own lane and keep your mind focused on your own goal. Now, I really hope you found these tips helpful. If you did, make sure to hit the like button. Also, for today's video, I would really like it if you would leave a comment and let me know what you would like me to talk about in future videos. This channel is supposed to be a place where I'm sharing my journey navigating life, career, motherhood, and online entrepreneurship. So it's a little bit of everything. But if there's an area that you guys are really interested in learning more about, maybe it's motherhood or balancing work and motherhood or just whatever it may be, let me know so I can plan, future videos surrounding those topics. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't done so already. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week.